All right, crew, it's 4:15. Let's get situated and get her rolling.
Oh, the lights up
I'm going to call this June 26th, 2025 Board of Adjustment meeting for the City of Watertown to order. Brandy, would you please do the roll?
Yes. Elby. Here. Spire.
Here.
Coheim.
Here.
Dargis Johnson.
Here.
Dolly.
Here.
Aletsky. Here. And Kakacek. I don't know, is that clunk? Yeah. Michelle, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. I'm doing roll call. I called your name, if you can say yes. I mean, you're here. Okay, Kakacek is here.
Yeah.
And then Tate and Kaiser are absent, and we do have a quorum. Today, we have a conditional use and a variance, so the variance requires 5, and the conditional use requires 4 in the affirmative for approval.
Thank you, Brandy. I would ask for a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Aletsky, second by Dolly. Any other discussion regarding the agenda? Any changes?
No.
Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the agenda say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion passes. June 5th meeting minutes. I'd ask for a motion to approve. Motion by Dolly, second by Dargis Johnson. Any further discussion, corrections, amendments to the minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor of approval say aye. Aye. Opposed, same
Aye.
sign. Motion passes. Regular agenda, we're on to the CUP. Randy, go ahead, or Mayor.
I'll do the intro, and then
Okay.
if the mayor wants to speak as the applicant, when we open the public hearing, that would work. So this is a conditional use request for Hotel Motel Inn for the property located at the previous City Hall location, which is 23 Second Street Northeast. And so obviously, City Hall has moved, we're here. That building, as far as marketing goes, it's been a need that we have a hotel that is for transient residents. And obviously, the guest house is a hotel, but they are actually only allow for monthly rental at this time. So they're on the long-term stay model. So as far as just our businesses and the event centers that we have downtown, and Foundation Plaza in that location, we felt that a hotel motel would be a great fit. And as it was announced at the city council meeting on Monday, that we do have people that will be moving forward with the project. So what we're looking for, and it's really the use that we're looking at, not the project specifically, is if this property is appropriate for a hotel and motel. And actually with that, I'll stand by for questions.
Thank you, Brandy. Does anyone from the board have any questions for staff? Hearing none, I'll open the public hearing. Anyone here to speak in favor?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Board. I appreciate the chance to come and speak in front of you today. And I think it's appropriate for me to actually be addressing you as the mayor of Watertown, because it is in that capacity that I am asking for this request. Because it is a city property, and the city has been instrumental in orchestrating this deal that I think will bring about the best use of this property. Best use is a term that we hear often in real estate. What is the best, truest use for any parcel of land? And I think that we actually have a deal here that could create that. We are in a commercial zone. It is a commercial property. We'll actually be taking a publicly owned piece of property, putting it back on the private tax rolls. It'll be generating tax revenue for itself, but it will also be adding value to every other business downtown. So when you argue best use, I would say that this is a pretty close proximity of getting to that point. I want to thank Brandy for helping me get to this point, and I know that we have some developers here who are the true heroes because they're the ones putting up the money for this. But on behalf of the city, as you can see, the city council was unanimously behind this, and it is largely because we had already declared the property as surplus. But the problem is if you take it out for a public bid, we had issues where you could only sell it for 90% of the appraised value, and you would doubt that anyone was going to give you 90% of the appraised value of the building because it was appraised far higher. Because what it really is it comes with a paycheck because you have to pay to demolish it. And the new owners will do that. So City Council was unanimously behind it, and I would ask for a similar response in the affirmative from your board, but I would be open for questions on that. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor. Any other? Go ahead. Yeah, you gotta push it hard. It's a little bit harder than the last ones.
Brandy, you can hear me. Can you show me where the parking is, just so that people watching know exactly where they're expected to park, please?
Yes, so the parking, and we don't have a site plan finalized at this point, but the parking will be on the main level. And so they will be adding 16 off-street parking spots in that location, and that is all that the the land that is there can handle, I guess.
Okay, but in your papers, it says that there's on Second Street. Can you show those public
Oh.
parking areas, please?
Yes. So there are 14 along, on street. They're adjacent to Second Street. And obviously, when this was City Hall, these were utilized for city business primarily because of its location. You have the county fair private parking lot that has off-street parking for their users. And then otherwise, there aren't other adjacent businesses. So this will also primarily function for the hotel and as it did for City Hall when it was there.
Okay, and then my other question is, so this hotel is not long-term, and it will be only for, I mean, like a 3-4 night stay or something? It's not monthly rates?
Weekly at the most.
Weekly at the most.
Is that in ordinance, or is that just a promise?
That is a market decision, you know, the private judgment.
So they could change it?
They could, yeah.
Without having to come before a board?
Yep, because that is their business model, and we're looking at the use, if this is a appropriate location for a hotel motel.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair? Okay, I'm looking at that 17 Second Street Northeast. Is the motel going to take up where parking is right now on the south side of the building?
It will, because,
Going to be all the way to the alley?
yep,
Okay.
and then, but they are adding much more off-street parking than what is in this location. And then the city kept, because the parking that was on the west side of the building is actually tied to this Wells Fargo property. So, that will still remain with the city. But obviously, there's a public parking lot within 100 feet. And then they are adding the 16 on that site, on that main level. And then they'll have they're planning on 2 levels, as you guys saw in the renderings. They'll have 2 levels of hotel rooms above.
Will they replat the 2 lots then into one single
Yeah.
lot? Okay.
Or if because they're not full lots, so we can't do a development lot agreement, but yeah.
Okay.
And Brandy, today we're looking at the conditional use. Is there a chance that this needs a variance on the parking requirement then as well?
No, because the C1 is exempt from off-street parking. I did add the information about apartments just for additional, just to have it there available, but that is actually only a caveat for apartments over 4 units.
Thank you.
Any other questions for staff before we take testimony from Mr. Walford? Chance, did you want to speak?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
right now our design is just a preliminary design. The structural engineers have not finished it, but right now they're thinking we need 25 pylons for our structure under there. But if that comes up less, we could come up with a few more parking spots. So right now, it's all in designing what our mechanical room needs to be and how many pylons we're gonna need to carry the weight load for the next 2 stories. So right now, they said 16 is what they're thinking, but, you know, maybe we could end up with 18. It just, when it all gets finished, we're not completely sure. So that's just all I wanted to say.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Walford. Anything, would you identify yourself too, just in case, for the record?
Chance Walford, Airstay member.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public that wants to speak on this conditional use request? Either opposed, in favor, neutral? Any questions, concerns? Anyone on the internet? Going once? Going twice? I will close the public hearing on this and request board motion. to
I'll
give
make
us
a motion to approve this conditional use.
Second.
Motion by Dolly, second by Spire. Further discussion? Are there any concerns or anything. I mean, I certainly don't have any concerns, but I just want to make sure if the board that we can address it. This is a time that we. Yeah, I think everyone's really excited about it. I mean, this is a time where we would normally discuss things like screening, parking, ingress, egress, those kinds of things. I don't really see a concern based on what I'm aware of.
Yeah, we do have sufficient public parking downtown to warrant this kind of use, and it's certainly something conducive to what we've trying to been doing over the last few years in growing and revitalizing the downtown district, so.
Yeah, I'm super excited, guys. Any further board discussion, questions? Ms. Dargis Johnson, do you have concerns?
No, not necessarily.
Okay, that's what I was hoping you'd say. All right, well, in that case, I'll call for a roll call then. Brandy?
All right, Oleski.
Yes.
Dolly? Yes. Dargis Johnson? Cohen?
Yes.
Spire?
Yes.
Albee?
Yes.
Kokachek?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. 5B, variance request.
Okay. You want me to take it away?
Please.
All right, thanks. So this is for the property at 212 7th Avenue Northeast and 621 3rd Street Northeast. It's currently a duplex, and the Vector, I might be,
Vector.
okay. Otherwise, I might just have botched it, which is kind of close to their name. But they have a purchase agreement for this property. It currently is owned by Alan Burns, and they,
Would you pull it up on the GIS when you get a chance?
yeah,
Sorry.
no, you're good. I'm gonna. Oh, gosh, we need Watertown. What the heck is in Northwest?
Northeast.
7th Ave? Oh, does it? Okay. So, it functions as a duplex. It is zoned R2A, single-family attached residential district, which is obviously the closed attached single-family district. The house currently has a 0-foot setback on the north side there, abutting 7th Avenue Northeast. And what they are proposing is to repair the existing front porch. And the reason why this is before you for a variance is because if they were only doing like a stoop for the stairs to get into the house, we could permit that even though because the structure exists as legal nonconforming. So, but the fact that they have the porch component is why it's before you, because then that is an encroachment within the front yard that is not allowed per ordinance. So this is really the existing structure and this is kind of a oddly stretched picture, but so you can see the sidewalk right there, and then that front stoop, and then the awning there, that is all within the setback, and the houses too, for that matter. But there is, and they would omit that awning, but it is part of the entire structural component of that house. So all of those things have been discussed, and just with how this one for the replacement and the structural components is why we couldn't issue, well, you can issue, like I said, for access, ingress, egress, but because of the added features, that is why it's before you for a variance request for a 0-foot setback.
Thank you, Brandy. Does the board have any questions for staff? Hearing none, I'll open the public hearing and ask for the applicant or Mr. Nealand, if you have anything you want to say, please come and introduce yourself.
Mr. Chair,
Oh, go
I
ahead.
have one question. Is it going to stay the same size? Is that what they're planning? Okay.
Yes, exact replacement.
Yes, yes. And just I'm Tony Nealand on behalf of Bob and Brenda Bechter, who are the purchase agreement. Just to clarify, Alan, I don't remember remember his name, but he has passed away, so they're in purchase agreement with the family, so, set to close July 7th. And like I said, we're just trying to repair what's there, so.
Does anyone from the board have any questions for Mr. Nealon? Is there anyone else that wants to speak on this variance? Opposed, in favor, or otherwise? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing and ask for a motion on the variance.
Make a motion to approve the variance.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion regarding this particular variance? Okay, just briefly before we vote, I'll add that I anticipate voting in favor of this because it's a legal non-conforming structure that predates our zoning laws. This is the least restrictive alternative. It doesn't seem like it has any impact on the neighborhood. And the current structure as it exists creates a hardship for the applicant. Any other further discussion? Roll call, Brandy?
All right, Kokachek,
Yes.
Elby,
Yes.
Spire,
Yes.
Colhane,
Yes.
Dargis Johnson.
Yes.
Dolly,
Yes.
Malletsky.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. That brings us to open public comment. If there was something that was not on the agenda that anybody, we're down to city staff, it looks like, and a couple of elected folks. If there's anybody wants to say on the internet, now's the time. Anyone?
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Mr. Tupper.
as you all know, this will be my last meeting as liaison for the city council. I have enjoyed spending time with you. It's not always been easy, but I do have the utmost respect for each and every one of you. Probably one of the most thankless jobs in the community, but I just wanted to give a big thank you to the time and effort that you guys pour into your jobs, and it's been a fun 2 years, so thank you.
Well, and thank you, Mr. Tupper. Thank you for serving on the council and as a liaison. You've been diligent in showing up, I think, to probably more meetings than I do, so.
Yeah, I'd like to add that too. Thank you for your attendance. It's been spectacular having you and for your service all around. You'll be missed, but we thank you.
Yeah, I've done this for a lot of years. My
New,
12 years on the board here, I think,
Yeah.
you know, Randy, you have been the most dedicated in your role here as liaison, so thank you very much.
you want a spot on this board? I'm sure the mayor. New business. Any new business, Brandy?
Yes, so if you notice the new face in the room, and you probably have, he was announced on Monday as our new city manager, Alan Stager. And I actually asked if the mayor would like to expand a little more, because I told Alan I didn't want to mess it up. But so far, so great, and we're happy to have our city manager on board and for his leadership.
Thank you, Board, and it does affect you, so I think that this is appropriate to introduce him in front of the board, but we went through a long, diligent search process. I know Chairman Culhane knows this because he was on the committee that helped us cull through over 250 applicants that were identified through our recruiting firm. Of those, 80 made the first cut, and after that, we kept narrowing down the field until we got to a list of finalists that the city council then interviewed. Every member of the city council voted in the affirmative of hiring this man next to me, Alan Stager, as our next city manager. He has a passion for it. As I say when I describe him, if you look at his history, he's got 19 years at Terex, then he was the general manager at Dakota Bodies. He has experience with budgets over $1 billion and dealing with over 1,000 employees at a time. He's got the experience we need. So as I describe him, he's got a private sector head with the heart of a public servant. And that is exactly what we were looking for and hoping for when we began this search. And I am delighted to introduce to you the new city manager for Watertown, Alan Stager.
Thank you, Mayor, and hopefully that's my last introduction because it's tough listening to all those good comments, but I sincerely appreciate them. I also sincerely appreciate each of you. Randy hit it right on. You guys have a thankless job, and oftentimes you're taking a lot of the heat on behalf of our staff as we try to do the right thing for the city. And sincerely appreciate what you do in service on this board. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Welcome aboard. Wonderful. Old business. No, do you have old business? Go ahead.
Can I add new business?
Oh, new business, sorry. Go ahead, Rhonda.
Well, more of a, maybe I should read the ordinances. What do we have in place, and is there any such thing for, with all the water we've gotten now, and it's actually been brought to my attention from a concerned citizen with mosquitoes? Obviously, we have a lot of water, and if we have people with things sitting around, is there not an ordinance that we can
About,
dump?
about stagnant water, you're talking like tires and,
I believe that we do. Because we actually have a whole I'm not as familiar with it. We have an ordinance about mosquitoes. You know what, let me look that up because I don't want to inundate Terry with a bunch of calls if we actually don't address it, but I want to say we do.
Either, but that was the concern that I had brought to my attention, and I'm like, I was kind of surprised that there wasn't, it's kind of like the lawn mowing, I think we have one on that, right? It's too tall, so, gonna kind of, obviously with 6 inches of rain here, probably gonna have some issues with that if Liam's not dumping his water pots out, and I'm getting West Nile. I just want to know if that is something that is a legit concern or complaint or.
I walk on the path a lot out by the lake, and I noticed that at Jackson Park, that you see the bugs. They are catching the mosquito traps, and I'm assuming they're looking for West Niles. Has anybody seen anything? Oh. But
And then,
there's like 3 of them out there.
Obviously, then too, we have our spraying, the Park and Rec does their spraying operations, and they have their program.
I think they announced
that
they're
way.
gonna start that next week, or this week or next week. But
I guess where I'm going with that is just if I'm seeing that my neighbor's not being, a good neighbor to me, how do I handle that?
So it looks like there isn't anything specific as far as when I search mosquito in the ordinance. Now, it could be under like breeding or, whatever, but I will check that out. And then, if there, depending on the extreme of it, maybe you want,
I have pictures, it's extreme, but it's not, I just wanted to know if it was out there, so.
that's fair. That's probably a little bit outside of our purview as the Planning and Zoning Board, but I appreciate your concern, and it's a valid one. And everyone who's listening should dump out buckets and tires and anything else that you got floating around.
or leave your neighbor a nice courteous letter that
Yes.
says,
Yes,
please dump your bucket.
we don't want any mosquitoes. Old business.
None that I have.
All right, then we're adjourned.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
I accidentally turned